Thank you, Wendy, and congratulations today for the wins you. I mean, what amazes me is that at your younger age, you still continue to show and you win. And I in one of the groups in Africa, in Uganda, I was telling them that, hey, I mean, they say you never tell ladies age, so I can't say it, but it's the fact that it shows a lot of passion that you have for this breed. So
I don't mind saying my age, 72.
oh, that's nice. That's nice. You know,
Proud of it.
yeah. You don't look it. I was telling my friend that, hey, both you and your husband are inspiration to some of us. That I think before I leave this country, I need to come and spend some time with you guys to learn. But the question that I wanted to ask is that you've had the benefit of going around all the continents in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that of great worry to you as far as the ShihTzu breed is concerned? What are some of the things that you think that breeders across the world should be looking out for so that we don't lose the type in the breed?
Well, the different countries have different standards, even though when you really get down to the nitty-gritty of it all, it's the same standard. We just verbalize it different in different countries. Because the Shih Tzu anywhere in the world is roughly between 9 and 16 pounds. Females in that 10 to 12 pound range, and the boys in the 12 to 16 pound range.
Okay.
Which means they have to have bone and body substance.
Substance. Okay. So, for somebody who wants to, my viewers in Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, in the French speaking, for somebody who wants to breed right, he does not know anything. What are the ABCDs he should know with the benefit of all the experience you've gathered over the years?
Making sure that you start with a healthy pedigree. And I don't mean health from winning perspective, I mean general health of the dog.
Please clarify a little bit more.
One of my biggest disappointments when I judge around the world is dental care, as an example. Their breeders are not paying enough attention to dental care. That affects everything in the dog. Their health, their hygiene, their face staining, for an example. All bad ears, it all goes back to dental health. That's where a lot of it starts. So, in being toy breeds with small mouths, we tend to overlook having regular dental checkups done and teeth removed and cleaned.
So you would advise that as breeders they should internalize routine brushing of teeth of dogs,
or just maintain. If you have a good bite with full dentition and it's straight, it will stay much cleaner.
Okay.
If you have a crooked mouth, small teeth, no spacing between the teeth, that's where the issue comes in, with the cavities and the teeth get loose and fall out.
Okay.
A good mouth will last till the dog is 9-10 years of age. A bad mouth, dental-wise, by 5 or 6 they start losing teeth.
Okay. So, will you say that for a person who is starting to breed, if he was going for a dog and the dentition is not, say, 6 out of 6, or it's not broad, the teeth is not broad, with a slight underbite, you will say that no, he or assuming the dog checks everything, but he's lost a tooth.
Well, they could lose a tooth. I mean, the AKC standard says missing teeth allowed. I don't agree with that. I still think they should be 6 and 6. And with 4 canines, you see missing canines, that's a no-no. And when you open the bite, if you can't see the 6 teeth straight across in a row, that gives you an indication that the head is small and narrow.
Okay. So, if I may ask, at what age will you see all this full dentition in the dog?
Not till 4 to 6 months of age.
Wow.
Puppies they look to have full dentition at 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks. that does not mean the adults are gonna come through.
It's interesting because in my country, for instance, most of the breeders, they start selling puppies at 2 months, 3 months. So then how then would somebody who is looking to get a breeding stock to build on his founder, what would be your advice to us as we start to?
You have to build up a relationship with the breeder that you're trying to get any breeding stock from, and you have to be able to look at history as far as generations, prior generations. And if you do have that advantage of being able to see other dogs from that kennel, that will give you an indication whether or not the 10 to 12-week-old puppy is going to mature out to have good teeth.
Yeah. So for instance, in Brazil, I know I was speaking to a breeder in Brazil. They say that in Brazil, so they have 2 levels of puppy purchase, where you can buy a puppy below 3 months, and you understand that it's a gamble.
Right.
So the breeder will tell you that
puppy under 3 months is a gamble.
The breeder will tell you that, hey, I can't guarantee how it will turn out, and so for that they are reducing the price for you. And then they have another pricing where 4 to 6 months they tell you that, okay, this is a breeding quality. Mm-hmm. They assure you that, so at least when you do, you sign the contract, and if something goes bad, they can always honor their part of it for you. Now, yesterday,
you can't guarantee anything though.
Okay.
Because, like I said, they'll have a full set of teeth at 12 weeks old, and that doesn't mean it's going to be a full set of teeth at 6 months old.
Wow.
Or even 2 testicles at 6 months old. So it's one thing to take a chance on a bitch, but it's another thing to take a chance on a dog. So until the 2 testicles are descended down in the sac properly, there's no point in buying a dog. And that you don't know until 6 months.
So you would advise that ideally for somebody who is starting, if you can, should go in for a breeding quality at 6 months?
Yeah, my puppies don't leave till 6 months. Till I know that everything's in place. They're old enough to have their rabies shots. They're microchipped, full shots other than rabies.
So yesterday, during the breeder, the judges' education seminar, you talked about the fact that the ShihTzu is a head dog, mm-hmm. and I wanted you to throw more light on it as if for somebody who is looking to breed right, what must he know as far as...
Well, you have to, like I mentioned, if you were to take a person blindfolded and put 6 dogs on the table, you should be able to tell the breeds apart without even seeing them, just by touching them. Mm. So if I put 6 dogs across the Tibetan Spaniel, Tibetan Terrier, Lhasa Apso, Pekingese, Brussels Griffon, ShihTzu, Japanese Chin, and blindfolded you, you should be able to tell me what breed is what by the head. They all have different heads. The problem gets into when the ShihTzu verges on the head, the shape of a Lhasa head or a Pekingese head, and that happens if people don't concentrate on head type. So the size of the head and the shape of the head being round is different than the Lhasa head, which is more rectangular, and the nose is placed differently on the face. So.
Okay, so will you say that if for an up and coming breeder, if he had a stock and the head is not round, it's not a typical ShihTzu head,
yeah. It's very hard to get that back.
To get it out. So probably for such a dog, what does he do? He takes him as a pet quality, or what? Or what?
The head shape will be there at 8 weeks old.
Okay.
And anyone that sells a puppy at 8 to 10 weeks old takes that chance of disappointing someone. And the person that buys it is taking a risk that they're spending money on something that hasn't proven itself.
Mm. You also mentioned the nose. Yesterday, it was an eye-opener for me that you said that by using your...
You take your thumb and put it sideways in to feel the stop.
Mm-hmm.
So the top of the nose must be level with your thumb,
Mm-hmm.
and the edge of your thumb should feel the top scalp coming up and around. If it falls away, then you've got more of a Lhasa scalp.
Mm-hmm.
So the stop has to be 90 degrees.
And then if it goes a little bit, if it feels like it's going up, it means that it's a Pekingese.
No, the Pekingese head is a little bit, the muzzle, the nose is much shorter.
Okay.
And you're gonna feel the difference. The Pekingese is an envelope shape. So you're not gonna get that roundness coming up. The Pekingese face is a little bit flatter across the front. Still with the stop, but it's a much shorter stop.
So then, what happens when the nose is like it's pointed upwards?
Then you're verging towards the Brussels Griffon, the Japanese chin, the Pekingese, because a lot of Pekingese noses are shorter and a little bit higher placed on the head than the ShihTzu. The ShihTzu, top of the muzzle, should be level at least with the bottom of the eye to halfway up across the eye, no more.
Okay.
Any higher, it's not proper head type.
So yesterday, too, one of the things I wanted to ask you, you did say that it's important that you put your hand around the chest area, and you must feel it, and you should be able to get it down.
Right.
I didn't understand. What's the relevance of that?
So if you watched me show my black girl today,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure before the judge came up, I stacked her. I felt my chest myself on her. My hand went in, and my forefingers went to the table. And that meant her legs were straight down. Okay? Her chest filled my hand, and I went down. So then I knew she was standing properly. So when the judge came up to feel her, he felt what I wanted him to feel, which is one of her best features.
So if the legs are not pointed in front, or the dog is not stacked well, when you put your hand and you drop, you will not be able to go down straight.
You're gonna hit the knuckles.
Okay, got
Because
you.
they're gonna be too close together.
Got you.
And
So
usually when that happens, there is no forechest anyway.
okay.
So if there's no forechest, that's the whole shoulder assembly is set too far forward on the body.
So if I may ask, assuming when you feel the chest and there's not a lot of let me put this question this way: is there an abnormality when the chest is not close to the legs or the forelegs?
The elbow should be tight against the
It should
body.
be tight. So
Yeah.
if you see enough space, then it means that either he doesn't have enough chest.
It doesn't have enough depth of chest.
Okay.
And the legs are set too far forward on the body.
Okay.
Not back.
And
Against the
at what
ribcage.
age do you see these features?
At 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay. So it brings me to the next point, which is, what are some of the things as a breeder you can do to be able to start choosing your show potential over your pet quality? And at what age do you do that? What things
So
should be
by
on?
8 weeks, if they don't have proper structure, they don't stay. They go as pets.
So how do you do? How do you see?
You can feel it at 8 to 10 weeks.
So like when
It's
you
there.
feel the chest
Yeah.
area and
The ankles of the shoulders and the rear and the top line, the tail, it's there at 8 to 10 weeks. They may change over the next couple months. And, as the dog grows, some of them change really drastically over the couple months and then go back to what they were at 8 to 10 weeks. Some of them just progressively mature the way they're built, which is what you look for in a breeding program. But you don't want any surprises at 6 months, 8 months, 10 months.
okay.
What you see at 8 to 10 weeks is what you expect at a year old.
Okay. So you talked about the top line. The top line do you see those things between 8 to 10 weeks?
Mm-hmm. And the tail.
And the tail. So let's talk about the tail sets. Yesterday, you did say that you have to, when you move your hand towards the top line, it should go directly into the teacup of the tail.
Mm-hmm.
I really, whilst I understand it logically, in practice, I'm wondering if the person was a breeder and is an experienced handler, and I'm not experienced. If I put my hand there, can't he do it such that he can slightly move the tail so that my hand can still go inside there?
Oh, the handler could do that, yes. But
So-
when the dog is moving, you could tell if there's any lift or height to the tail. They can't hide that.
Okay.
So if
but,
it's flat
but
going
then,
around the ring, it's gonna be flat when you try to examine it.
okay, so for the uninitiated, we're wondering if the hair is covering the tail. I mean, how will he be able to see it when the dog is moving? Because, I mean, if
Because the silhouette is gone.
okay,
The head carriage, the neck into the shoulders and the top line, if there's nothing past that but flat, there's no teacup tail. In Europe, England, for an example, they say they like to see the length of the neck equal to the height of the tail.
yes, it makes more sense. So that when it's moving, you should be able to gauge that the neck,
To the height of the tail. And you don't see that all the time. You see it more in England or Britain.
and if the top line is not good, there's no way you see that levelness because
No.
one will be elongated. Yeah, it makes more sense.
But when you've got a flat tail, you tend to get a little bit more of a sloping top line, like a Cocker Spaniel slope.
Okay, that's well understood. I think yesterday you did say that you've observed that for some of the ShihTzu, when you start feeling the body towards the rear area, it narrows.
Yeah.
What causes that, and what can we do to ensure that we don't have that problem?
If you have proper substance through the chest area, like a whole handful, and if you want that to follow all the way through to the croup. When you get dogs that are narrower through the chest, meaning we call them slap-sided, meaning they're flat, they're not round, they're gonna tend to narrow out into the croup, in the loin area. The fullness doesn't go all the way back.
So then it means that it's safe to say that if perhaps the head is not right, and maybe the chest area and then the forelegs are not, or the chest area, the forelegs are not in good shape. When I say good shape, they are not well positioned, it's not well filled. It will have a ripple effect on top line, to have a ripple effect on the rear area and all that,
Everything, yeah.
and the movement, which will affect the function.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good information. So for assuming a breeder has gotten his ABCs right, he's chosen a good breeding potential, what are some of the routine things he needs to do in order to prepare the dog for a show?
Bathing on a regular basis. So up until 6-7 months of age, my puppies are bathed once a week. After 9, 10, 11 months of age, then they're done twice a week. So my schedule is Monday and Friday.
Okay.
Monday after the show, Friday before the show.
Okay.
And what happens with Shih Tzus and a lot of the short-faced breeds is they get bacteria built up in the nose area. Whether it's from tearing or sweating but any redness means that there's bacteria buildup and that area is not being kept clean enough.
Okay.
Which causes the red staining on the face, and that can come from bacteria or ear infections or dental hygiene. It's all related.
Okay. And this can be, you say that this can be cured by regular grooming and then perhaps nutrition, or
Nutrition and dental hygiene.
yeah, dental
ear
hygiene.
yeah.
Okay, so let's take a step back a little. Assuming I have a litter from day 1 to 30 days, what should I do to properly condition the dog to be in a sound state of mind? The pups and even the bitch. What are the ABCDs I should be doing?
I don't do much for the first month. I just let the mother look after them. And then once they're around 6 to 8 weeks, if they're gonna have a wet face, that you don't want wet faces, because then they're gonna stain constantly. That means every time you want to go into a ring, the face is going to be dripping wet, and that you can't keep proper hygiene with a wet face.
So then how do you avoid, assuming you feed them or they are drinking water, what do you do?
Some of it's hereditary.
Okay.
It's genetically bred into them that have overactive tear ducts.
Okay.
But then the opposite is you want them to make sure that the tear ducts work. Because if you get a big white face that never tears and is ice white, that dog, by the time it's 6, 7, 8 years of age, is going to have a problem with dry eye and eye ulcers. So it's a fine line. Like,
I know, right? it's you need to find a balance.
Yeah, but that's your history, studying the pedigree, and talking and being able to see dogs out of those lines.
Okay. So I was speaking to a breeder, and he was telling me that, for instance, his pups during the whelping stage, for the first 1 month, for instance, he owns radio or TV for the dogs to
I
hear.
do all the way through. My
Okay.
dog's always, the TV is always on 24 hours a day.
What is the essence of that?
So that they get used to noise.
Okay. And it does impact on their temperament, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you need to be saying positive affirmation to the dog, cuddling it, and just. Will you, at what age do you think is advisable to introduce your puppies to children and adults?
Usually around 8 to 10 weeks. Once they've been vaccinated, they're eating properly on their own. But introducing them to children you have to be very careful.
Careful, because the children can pull the dog.
Yeah, so the children have to sit on the floor, and the puppies stay on the floor.
And you supervise so that the children don't.
Supervise, and if they don't want to listen, then they don't get to play with the puppies.
Gotcha.
Even adults.
Yeah.
You can't trust them for the puppies to jump out of their arms.
Yeah. Because a little trauma can affect the
Yeah, it can break a jaw,
Yeah.
break a leg. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, outcross line bred, what's your take on it?
I've done everything. I will tightly line breed, but then you have to introduce another line of genetics. So I will lease a dog temporarily, breed a few bitches to it, send them back home again. And puppies out of that new male, that first generation is difficult to gauge because you don't know where the genetics are coming from, whether it's your stuff or their stuff. So I try to keep 2 or 3 girls and possibly a dog out of 2 or 3 litters of a dog I've leased, and work with them to see what they produce. So when you're outcrossing, your first generation is a hit and a miss, and you have to be patient to see what side the genetics are coming through on.
So I see that for a lot of your dogs, most of them, they are line bred, and they turn out quite well. How? Because maybe I process things logically. What do you think is the approach? Is it do you usually you breed, you keep some girls, then you outcross and then you line breed back again?
I just outcross once and then come back in.
So you do one generation of outcrossing.
Yeah.
Isn't it too closely related?
No. So what if I have a nice litter? I'll keep 2 girls and a dog. If I have a mediocre litter, I don't keep anything.
Okay.
Because you don't know, mediocrity will breed mediocrity.
Yeah.
You want consistency in a litter. If they're consistently nice, like 4 puppies and all are nice, then I would keep something.
So just so that I understand well, assuming you have an excellent litter, you keep 2 bitches and then 1 dog, and then you outcross those 2 bitches, and then
I cross one and line breed one.
Okay.
So
You outcross one and then you line breed one. Then after that,
those
male and female, you then mix.
Bring them
That's
back in
interesting.
again.
No wonder your dogs look so similar. I mean, you know,
It's with experience that you set a type, and you can see the type at 8 weeks old. So
but
even if you outcross, your type is going to be in there.
Yeah, but there are some breeders who frown on it, that it's too closely related. It's too close. The percentage of inbreeding is too high, so they would rather advise.
No, we're not breeding brother and sister or mother
Yes,
and father. We're
yes.
breeding grandsire to granddaughter.
Yeah, got you.
So if you maintain that within that 2 generations, that's line breeding, but you've got stuff to work with.
Okay.
It's
So
not that
keep
close.
2
It's not
siblings.
Inbreeding is a problem.
Keep 2 siblings. One
Breed back in, one breed out.
One. So okay. So 1 line breed, 1 outcross, and then bring those 2 male and female and come in.
Yeah.
So that the 1 line bred can be, you can breed it to say a grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try that and see. Okay. So what else? What else have I?
Too many breeders buy too many dogs from different pedigrees, and they haven't done their homework, and they don't know what to do with the pedigrees when the puppies are born because they don't know what to expect.
Okay. So, preparing for shows. What are some of the routine things that at an early stage, assuming you have a show quality dog, beside the grooming, the regular grooming, what should you be doing daily to make sure that at an early stage your dog is ready for the ring?
Every day, at least once a day, starting at 8 weeks, the puppies are put on the table. Just to stack. I don't care what the legs are doing, but I just stand them on the table. Make sure that their tail is wagging and that their 4 feet are on the floor. I do that for about a month. Then the next month, I introduce someone in the household to come and check their bites and just feel them. Again, if they're built properly, they're going to stand properly. So you want them to get experience with people touching them. And by that time, they've had 2 vaccinations. So there's no strangers touching them.
Okay.
As far as lead training, the girls that I showed here, the first leads that they had on them was a month ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And they do. I mean, I had to focus my camera on them. I love their movement, their strides. And you are saying that just a month ago that
I didn't wear them out. I didn't make it hard for them. I didn't get them bored. It was playtime all the time. So a month ago, I started taking them to my daughter's training class. It was 15 minutes, that was it. We went around the ring a couple times, we free baited them. I never got down, I never held them together, I just stood there and let them look up at me and bait. Making sure that their stance was proud and their carriage was good. I went like 4 times before here, that was it.
Because back home in my country, I've had instances whereby, especially breeder handlers say that they don't put leads on their dogs, and when they are coming for shows, they try and the dog won't move.
Well, then you have to know your pedigrees, and you know the parents. You have to know that you've raised them properly as far as being examined on tables, and that most of my puppies I pick out, my first choice is whether they carry themselves around the house properly. If they have that upright attitude and always trot. If they're hopping, skipping, jumping, they're not built good. So if you look at a litter of puppies and there's one puppy that trots all the time and is forever focusing, making eye contact with you, that dog is mentally sound. If they're not, and you have to encourage them to come to you, they're always going to be like that.
Okay. So I want to pick your thoughts on these two things, and then maybe if you have some closing remarks, we can. Because I don't want to you have to rest and prepare for it. First one is that kenneling versus allowing the dogs to have fun every day, especially for show dogs. What's your position on it?
At 4 to 6 months, I start separating them so that they learn their own identity. They get playtime during the day, but not just out play for half an hour and then put away by themselves again. I don't want them relying on each other for their confidence levels. They have to be confident themselves.
4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Separated. And
Because
their playtime also has to be separate, or you bring them together.
No, they play a little bit.
Okay.
But when they start chewing on each other, like being rough and tugging, it destroys your show food.
Okay. So it means that once they become fully grown, their playtime is individual because you want to protect their show coats.
Yeah, once I know that they're going to a show and they have their top mounts and everything in on a regular basis, they get playtime depending on their temperament and how rough they want to play. They can play with other dogs, no problem. But when it starts getting they get too rough with each other, then you're destroying all the work you put into it.
Okay.
They need the socialization, but they also need control.
So you wear many hats, and one of the hats is that you're a chairman of the judges commission over here.
Mm-hmm.
For us, and when I say for us, for most of the kennel clubs in Africa, with the exception of maybe South Africa, most of us don't have, we have to bring in judges.
Mm-hmm.
What will be your advice in setting up a structure? If we wanted to set up a judges program, what should be the ABCDs?
Well, there's a lot of Zoom courses now, and it's getting so expensive to bring people in that even in Canada and the US, most of our classes with the AKC, the American Kennel Club, and the Canadian Kennel Club are monthly Zoom meetings where a presenter comes in and gives a seminar. And then both AKC and CKC have yearly seminars where, for an example, in March I did the Louisville Kennel Club shows, and we put on 12 seminars with different breeds. 12 different breeds out of the hound group or the toy group.
Okay. So what I want to find out really is that whilst these platforms are available and can be of help, I'm thinking that we need to have a blueprint of a structure of, okay, so what must we do when we are considering as a framework to become a breed judge, a group judge, an all breed judge? What are the things we should consider?
I think that you want to talk to specialists within groups.
Okay.
Breeder judges that have a variety of experience in the different breeds within the group.
Okay.
Rather than just single breeds.
Okay.
In your case, yeah.
That's insightful. So I'm guessing that, assuming we wanted to put up a curriculum.
A what?
A curriculum.
Curriculum, yeah.
Yeah, curriculum we would then bring in these judges. What are some of the things which must be of necessity be in that curriculum?
Well, to become a licensed American Kennel Club judge, you have to pass courses for general canine anatomy.
Okay, canine anatomy.
And rules and regulations. You have to have proven yourself as far as showing dogs and breeding dogs.
Yeah.
There's a certain number of champions.
Yes. How many?
I think it's 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got 200, so I never looked at the numbers.
Yeah, I spoke with one today. I got an interesting as well. I spoke to one of the judges who was telling me about, and it made more sense to me that he said that for a person to put himself up to become a judge, he needs to either have bred champions, a number of champions, or have handled a number of champions.
Right.
Then you then take
Show
up
that
the
you have experience, yes.
Then after that you take up the course, canine anatomy, rules and regulation, breed standard. When you pass the test, then you go to the field. You have to go for seminars, do observation,
Yep.
and all that. It's a tall order.
Right.
Quite expensive too.
It can be, yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so what about, so one observation I've observed, and I want to pick your thoughts because ultimately we will get there, and I want to pick. I've seen that for most of the sports here, you have people grown up. We don't have a lot of young people coming into the sports.
We don't hear either.
Yes, in Ghana is young, so we don't have. But I'm sure when we get to your level, we'll get there. What can be done? What do you advise kennel unions can do to intentionally bring?
You have to teach the younger generation general care and anatomy of dogs. Because if they don't care for them properly, raise them properly, it just follows through. It's a disaster.
So maybe would you advise that maybe they have a collaboration with a school where they go, they teach them how to basic things?
Yeah, we do that a lot in Canada. We used to do that.
Yeah.
We would go into schools and they would have special events, and my daughter would take the whippet puppies in and just let the kids socialize with them, and then she would spend half an hour with the kids just talking about dogs and how to care for them.
Great. Okay. So
Having respect, for what their needs are and how to feed them and house them.
So what would be your closing remarks and as far as the breed and then the sports is concerned? Or if somebody wanted to know to go into the Shih Tzu breed, what would be your advice to such a person?
I think they would have to spend some time with an actual breeder, and that they learn the techniques of growing them up and the different stages and what care is required in order for the show coats and the mental attitudes in any breed.
Okay.
You just can't take a show dog that someone else made a champion and expect to be an instant success. You have to know how it got there and how to keep raising it that way.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, and I hope that this one becomes. I must say that one of the things I've admired, and I think yesterday I was speaking to the General Secretary of the Kennel Association in Nigeria, and I was telling him that one of the reasons why I do what I do is that it's because of people like you, because there's not been a single time that I've reached out to you. I mean, it's not like you don't have problems. You definitely, nobody has it all figured out, but
Right.
almost always you come through. So I feel that I owe it to the breed and to my generation to do same, because
Yeah.
I mean, freely giving, like the Bible says. So I would like to thank you, and I pray, I always pray that God gives you longer and healthy life, because I know that the breed will be better off
Thank you.
the longer you are around with us. And hopefully, sooner than later, you'll be with us in Africa, in West Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day then.
Thank you.
Thank you too.